Zimrat Yad Vayehi li Yeshua Ozi Bezimrat 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 Yad Vayehi li Yeshua. Boker Tov, good morning. It is a sun-shining day out there today. The sun is reflecting off the snow. Not that I think there'll be any magical melting of said snow because, well, it's freezing out. But it is nice to see that the sun is shining, that life is lifing, right? That we're here and we've made it to almost to Shabbat, and we're so grateful that we will be in person tonight. As a reminder, remember, services are at 7 p.m., so don't be showing up here at 6:30 if you're not coming in person. But we've made it. We've made it through the week, just a few more hours until Shabbat shows up. And here we are, day 2 of our 3-part segment on Parshat Yitro, Jethro, Moses' father-in-law. We talked about it on Wednesday, 2 days ago. Have to think about what day it is, Friday. And we talked about it, that we're never meant to carry the burden alone. Yitro says to Moses, like, come on, you're going to burn yourself out. There are better ways for checks and balances. Let's figure out a way where you're not drained and where the people are getting that which they need. Sustainable leadership, letting others in to kind of lessen the burden, but also to expand the greatness. And so the Parsha continues on about something that maybe we don't think about often: preparing ourselves, the sacred readiness to do whatever it is. But in this case, the Israelites are preparing to stand at Sinai. After generations of slavery, after the plagues, after the sea, after a long walk, we'll call it a long journey, a long walk through that which is uncertain, the Israelites arrive at Har Sinai, at Mount Sinai. We might expect the Torah to move immediately to Revelation, like it should be Shavuot. But you don't just go from Pesach to Shavuot with nothing in the middle. I mean, what would that be? So in our minds, we've gone through all of these things. Here we are at Har Sinai. Here we are at Mount Sinai. And there's no thunder, lightning, and commandments. But instead, something surprising happens. God tells the people to prepare. Sanctify yourselves today and tomorrow. Wash your garments and be ready. Revelation, it turns out, is not only about God speaking, but it's in our ability to receive. It's not just, wow, Moses heard as God had said, but rather Moses is going to hear, Moses is going to receive, Moses is going to transmit, but are we ready to receive? There's deep wisdom here. We often imagine spiritual moments as sudden, a flash of insight, or clarity arriving without warning, or something falling in our laps effortlessly. But the Torah suggests otherwise. That's not the way it is. That holiness asks something of us, an awareness that requires intention. Sinai teaches that transformation is rarely accidental. It emerges when we cultivate kavanah, this intentional presence, to prepare us to say, this moment matters, and I want to meet it fully awake and aware. Pause for a moment and imagine the scene. An entire people are gathered at the base of a mountain. Not rushing, not distracted, not multitasking. Already we failed, right? Because already we rushed this morning without question of a doubt. We were distracted. How many of you could say that you went from point A to point B and you've actually were aware of things around you while you took those steps or took that drive? Sure, we were distracted already. And multitasking, we need to multitask in order to get from one place to another these days, right? So none of that was happening. Just an entire people at the base of a mountain waiting. There's something almost unimaginable about the kind of collective awareness. It reminds me when things like were more calm, for instance, when people would, this is like a long time ago, I think I was in high school, Tower Records would sell concert tickets. People would camp out, or people would just leisurely stroll up to the line, and everybody was there waiting for the ticket release. Everybody was calm. All right, maybe they were taking in activities that were calming prior to reaching the line, but everybody was calm. Everybody was there with the same purpose, the same intention, and the same hope. Now, obviously, this is different than standing as a collective at Har Sinai. It's not like when you got to the concert and they opened the doors and everybody was pushing in like a stampede. It was like we were waiting for the release of these tickets. Sinai, of course, different, because it was a different purpose for it. But it was not rushed, not distracted, not multitasking, just waiting. A collective attentiveness to, wow, what will be? Because if we're honest, much of modern life pulls us in 1,000 directions, and often in the opposite, right? We skim rather than absorb. We react quickly rather than holding on a second and reflecting on it before moving forward, moving quickly from one demand to the next because we just got to get it done. Our attention is constantly fragmented, pieces, pieces, pieces. And when attention gets fragmented, so does our soul, because you can't hold it together because everything is just a piece. Sinai reminds us that presence is a spiritual discipline. It doesn't happen automatically, but it's cultivated every time we pause before speaking. So I have a family member who I haven't seen in a very long time. But as kids, we used to spend certain holidays with them, and then we would be driving home. And I can't, countless times, myself and my brother would be like, Mom, I can't even have a conversation because you have to wait so long before they respond. And so every time I think about this portion, or just think about the lessons that we learn from Torah in general, it's like I never can imagine myself being the person that is able to just pause Like, do you need that much time to gather your thoughts before you respond? But I think it's a discipline. I think it's almost, I mean, it's a blessing if you're able to do it. But it's when we stop, it's like we're able to formulate an entire thought in our response, and it's intentional. Every time we truly listen, every time we resist to the urge that is like, hurry past, but we probably missed what was sacred because we were hurrying. Kavanah, or spiritual intention, or discipline is not ever perfect, but it's about our orientation, turning the heart towards the moment, waiting, having patience, rather than turning away from it. We also notice something else. The people are told to set boundaries around the mountain. Not everyone can rush forward. At first glance, it feels restrictive. But if we look at it with a spiritual lens, it's actually protective. Because boundaries create the conditions for that encounter. Without them, everything blurs together, chaos is happening, and when everything is equally urgent, then nothing really, truth is never received. This is one of those lessons that we're just still learning. The majority of us aren't there. We cannot be endlessly available and deeply present at the same time because we didn't stop long enough to absorb what's coming at us. To live with kavanah, to live with intention, means making gentle but firm choices. Where will I give my attention? What deserves my energy? And what needs protection so that my soul can remain open? Protection doesn't mean putting up a wall. Protection is just setting a clear boundary so that we can remain open rather than slamming everything shut because we just can't take it. And here is perhaps the most radical teaching of Sinai. The people have no idea exactly what's going to happen, but they prepare anyway because they're told to do so. They show up before their certainty. This kind of spiritual maturity is the willingness to become receptive without controlling the outcome. The majority of us are not there yet. So much of our anxiety comes from wanting guarantees before we can even commit our hearts to it. And Sinai offers a totally different path. Prepare, arrive, and stay open. Let revelation, whatever that will be, unfold just as it will. That's crazy to most of us. This teaching, this teaching meets us tenderly in these moments. We're moving through life in a state of quiet overload, juggling responsibilities, absorbing constant information, carrying emotional weight. And often the question beneath it all is, when do I have space to actually experience my life? And Kavanah, sacred intention, spiritual intention, answers us. Not by waiting for the perfect moment, but by learning how to inhabit the moments that are already here. Don't miss them. Because revelation, well, we're running to it, revelation doesn't only belong to mountaintops. It appears in conversations that matter, in acts of kindness, in unexpected clarity, in the stillness that we almost rushed past. The question rarely is God speaking? The deeper question is, are we listening? The rabbis teach something that is breathtaking. Here it is. The voice of Sinai never stopped. We're still standing there. Whatever we choose, whenever we choose, attentiveness over distraction, depth over hurry, and presence over absence, there we are, standing at Sinai. Revelation is not locked in the past. It's not like we missed it. Oh, we weren't standing at Sinai. Our people were. It's not there. It's every time it's renewed, every time in every generation through our own willingness to receive. So what do we need to reflect on as we come to Shabbat? What do we think? Where are our lives? Where in our lives are we moving too quickly to notice what might be sacred? What would it mean to prepare our hearts even slightly for a deeper presence? And how might our intention help us to live not just efficiently, but to live life with meaning? Parshat Yitro reminds us that before revelation comes readiness, before wisdom comes listening, before transformation comes the quiet decision to show up awake. Beloved friends, may we discover that Sinai is not only a place that we once stood, but a posture that we can return to again and again and again, and that is to show up. For all of those that are in need of healing, for all of those that are in need of healing. We say, Adonai yishlach lahem, refuah shlema, refuah hanefesh, or refuah haguf. May God bring healing, total healing, in good time to all those who are struggling and suffering, to remind themselves that we can stand together over and over and over, and we will, to be better for ourselves, to provide healing for and wholeness to souls, and to continue to live the teaching of Torah. For those in mourning, we say, Hamakom yirachem etchem, Patok sha'ar v'leitzion v'Yerushalayim, may you be comforted amongst all the mourners, and may those who have entered life eternal, may they be lifted up as we do not forget them, as we continue to lift up one another. Thank you for joining me this morning. Riva, Aileen, Elisa, Jeneba, whoever else is here and didn't sign in. Let us take the words today. Let us remind ourselves that we just have to stand still, take a deep breath, let it settle, and then respond. We will be back here at 7 o'clock for those that are joining online, 7 p.m. for those that are meeting us live in person. Services are in person today, so don't come at 6:30 as we know. Make sure 7 p.m. tonight. We are one human family, one heart of abundant love. We love you, and we look forward to seeing you tonight at 7. Remember, Am Yisrael Chai. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Let's continue to do good in the world. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. 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 Od Avinu Chai. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.